For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode 48 of That's a Shame. Not the shame, a shame. I'm Isaac, and joining me, as always, you know him, you tolerate him, it's Declan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Isaac. How are you?
Oh, not bad, you know. It's an interesting time to be alive. Well, I guess it's not. I'll rephrase. It's an interesting time to be alive and inhabit my body.
Right.
Because it's currently in the middle of doing all sorts of things. I feel like one of those people that's being tortured where you get pulled apart in all different directions by, I don't know, Henry VIII. Sounds vaguely like it
why
might
not?
have
Go
happened
for
in
it.
those days. You remember when Henry VIII, he used to stand in all four corners of a room with his giant spider legs and just drag people apart. But other than that, I'm very well. So thank you for asking. Look, episode 48, I'm going to kick it off by saying that it's going to be a hell of a show. And how do I know that, you might ask? Well, Declan's made a list of content. And when that happens, only good things are bound to follow therefrom. Isn't that right?
You know me, I am the list guru. It's
that-
how I was
oh,
known.
that's you.
It's how I was known all throughout university, as you'll remember.
Right, I did wonder what that was
and,
about. I thought it was because you had really big hands and played piano.
That's the one. Nice little classical music joke there for someone.
Thank you.
For
Thanks,
at least
guys.
one listener, surely. And you know me, a stickler for bureaucracy. I think it's always
Yeah,
been the backbone of
famously.
comedy.
If there's a hoop to jump through, you'll tumble right on it.
You'll laugh as you go through it. So yeah, no, I've just made
the
a short
way.
list because I do, because it's another episode where I've got certainly lots of smaller things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I always end up not talking about them, which is the opposite of
Easily
talking
done.
about them.
And have you remembered that Proust is still unfinished?
I know,
Because I know I just did as we started the show.
but I'm thinking that we should answer maybe one. We've got two questions left, haven't we?
Yes.
We should answer one next week and one in the
What,
big
none to...
and one in the big episode 50.
Okay, that's a big episode, is it?
Well, not
I
currently.
thought the special element was that it was going to be 1 minute
The
long.
special element is we won't have any internet to record it.
That is true. Oh, well, look, you've led so naturally into an update on the topic, well, not the topic, a topic from last week's episode 47. Great episode, would you say?
I'd say it was a hell of an episode. Yeah,
One of the top 47-ish. It's up there.
in there.
Yeah, it's a contender. But we talked a bit about our housing situation. And we weren't necessarily confident. We didn't know either way how it was going to go. What's the update now? How confident are you feeling about that?
Well, it's interesting because part of our worry was that if we did tell you, it would only damage our chances.
It
wasn't like
it to fuck.
it wasn't like telling you was going to kind of really seal the deal for us. Unless any of you secretly is Adrienne.
That'd be amazing.
Or the landlord has been suspiciously helpful,
The landlord. Too helpful.
if anonymous. Yeah. But yeah, since then, we've passed our referencing.
Yeah, I've never felt more elated to pass
No.
anything. And what's so sad about it is the only reason we passed it, I mean, the only sense in which we passed it is that we both fail.
We both
fail, but well enough that they're like, we fail with enough distinction and absolution that they're just like, well, that's fine. We move on to the next step.
as well, that because they already knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
The only barrier for entry for us was existence. Like, as long as we were the people that we put down on the form, that was it.
And to be fair, even that is...
I'm still worried I was going to fail.
Well, I quite often fail things like that because, as you'll know, my name causes all manner of issues. Because,
ISSAC.
that's it. ISSAZK. But no, not even the first name, just the whole double barrel surname thing. I'm down. Like, I think whenever I travel, is probably fraudulent to some degree because the name on my passport is not my name. Like, it is part of my name, but it's not my full name.
Are you
so
just
I'm
down
quizzed
as
at that.
Doyle?
No, it's
Or
just
you just down as
Bernier.
Berman? Oh, right. You just,
Yeah,
I
so-
just said Berminer because of your ticket.
Horrid idiot.
That would be
Isaac
fraud.
Bermaner Doll, wasn't it? Fucking shame. But yeah, so I was quite ready for them to be like, so we've run a little check. And in fact, this came in handy once. I haven't thought about this memory in a very long time. So here it is for you. Once upon a time, I was in maybe year 8 or 9, living in southeast London. The DLR was the thing to do. It was the place to be and the place to see. And just hanging around on that Docklands Light Railway, which was then like the newest form of transport in the city. It was like living in the future. You felt like a Jetson. And once upon a time,
If the
I was off to
Jetsons lived
see-
in a future that was made out of Meccano.
Yeah, Meccano and trains that pretend to be sort of roller coasters. They are quite cool because they kind of drive themselves. But how exciting can that really be? The answer is about 6 out of 10. More, it was high when I was a child, so I'll say it was 7 at the time.
It was a novelty. It was a novelty as well.
And I guess one of the most exciting elements about it for me was that you didn't have to pay, and that was, I mean, you did have to pay.
That sort of thing excites me to this day.
But what they did was they forgot the whole barrier system. I think they were just so pleased with the utopian, like, green technology that the DLR represented that they were like, well, surely any citizen who's going to choose this mode of transport will just feel like maybe dropping a few flowers on the way to brighten things up.
like it's some open source software.
Yeah, like it's an allotment that we all live on, but actually it's a train hurtling through tunnels. And so as a child especially, you were adept at kind of hopping on at the last minute, finding out where the guard was, and they weren't even always on them back then. So you would know, and then you just like swap carriages when they swap, and there was really nothing that they could do or cared to do about it. But one day I was going to go and see Darren Brown, one of his shows up in London. And so I got the DLR, and I'd been, I'd done my classic thing. I was maybe going from like Lewisham to Greenwich, which is about 6 minutes on the DLR. And I'd not got a ticket because I'm 13 or something. And it was probably £1.50. I'm like, fuck that. Very, very extortionate even then. And, I got off at Greenwich where there are no barriers. But as I came downstairs, it's one of these very unfortunate images that I feel like I would reach for if I was ever trying to describe, like if I was ever trying to create a metaphor for when that kind of sense of heading towards the gallows, because there is this like double staircase that's 2 flights down from the platform to like the concourse. You're not even in the station, you're kind of on the street, so you're really close to being free. And from the very top to the very bottom, the whole journey, I could see that the bottom of the staircase was covered in transport police who were like strictly checking everyone's everything. But you can't, like, there's no other way to go. Like, there is just the platform, and there were guards back there. So you couldn't really go back and get on the next train because normally if they're there, then they're everywhere. Like, they're just doing a check of the line kind of thing. So I was just walking really slowly down, being like, oh, fuck. And, this is one of a few situations with the police in which having so many different names, how many do I have? 5? Yeah, has been useful, because the first thing they do is like, well, where's your ticket? I was like, oh, I tried to get one.
Classic.
Yeah, the machine, like my pound didn't work or something. So I tried to get on like some bullshit anyway. And so the first thing they do is call it in. Like, they treat it. I don't know if they treat
like
it as a
real
teaching
crime.
moment. But do you think their intent is that they're cunts like Jobsworth, dickheads, who should be dealing with real crime, that are actually harassing children?
Yeah.
Or
No.
should we be generous and say, oh, it's not this one.
No, there's no second
It's not that
option.
they want to instill
No,
a good sense of
they're
right and
all
wron.
Jobsworth cunts.
Right.
And you can tell
Oh, is
that
that
because they all know so
Have a
intimately
huge erection
the
whilst
detail.
they're doing it.
Half of them have to turn away simply to ejaculate.
It's very upsetting.
No, because they're also intimately familiar with all of the pricings, the workings, the stations, the times, all of it. You know that they've studied up for
and
this.
it was, if anything, it was taking too many £1 coins. I've never known it to discriminate.
It was being particularly courteous.
So yeah, there I am talking to this giant officer, and the first thing he did in his kind of, this is a serious thing, kid, like arsenal of tools, was, right, stand here, we're going to radio this in. It's already a mortifying situation because you're, it's very public, like you're just pulled aside, and you always, like, if you walk past someone who's being dressed down for ticket things, even if it's like quite valid, like they actually couldn't, you're always like, oh, it sucks to be you. And being on the receiving end of that is a real shame. So people are kind of like glancing and probably thinking thoughts about how millennials will all grow up to fail because of this sort of ticket hopping bullshit.
Youth of today.
Yeah. Less avocados, more train tickets, mate. And there I am. And he radios in. He's like, right, give me your full name. He asked if I had ID on me first. I was like, well, why? I'm 13. What do you think I've got? My driving license. Not likely, officer. Didn't appreciate that. But he radios in, and I gave my name as like Isaac Doyle or something, and I watched him write it in his little notebook, and he thankfully spelled both parts wrong. So when he radioed across, he was like, I as in, what is I? Indigo, whatever. S as in Sierra, S as in Sierra, S as in Sierra again, about 18 times. I was like, okay, this is good so far. Because like, if it comes back that you are known for fucking around on the train or something, then I guess they have
You just go to
grounds to just lock you up forever. That's what happened, isn't it? Yeah, that's what they do.
You
throw away the key.
You get taken, and you have to turn the big wheel that keeps the city running,
Oh, I thought you were going to say. Thought you meant the London Eye.
along with all the other along with all the other delinquent children.
You
who
have
buy
to go and
tickets.
mow Hillary Clinton's lawn for the rest of your life. So that was good. And this is just one of many things that have happened in my life that make me think. You may, like regular listeners, may have noticed that there's a very organic but visceral connection between some things that happen in my life and, elements of my personality and those of another great man 2,000 years ago, who you might have read about in the big book. And this is one such reason that I just thought, well, look, someone's looking out for me here, because it basically came down to, much like this the Joe story of old, it ends in one of these very binary outcomes where I'm aware throughout that I should have managed the situation away from this, but also inside there's a kind of blind confidence that something will happen, like it will work out all right.
Yeah.
Something will come up for me here. So basically it came down to, I didn't have any money to pay the penalty fare. I couldn't get through to either of my, like anyone in my family who could like vouch for you and be like, yeah, this is our address, because they need somewhere to confirm where to send like penalty fares. Like, well, the only thing to do then is we have to give you a court date. I was like, are you fucking mad? I'll pay £1.50. I'll do it now. I'll pay it 3 times.
Please, governor, don't make me pay it.
Come on, mate. He's going to be sending me off to Mr. Bumble. He's going to stroll around town singing in his beautiful Harry Seacombe tenor, holding notes for 35 seconds.
How much is he going to sell you for? How much do you think you're worth, like pitching out?
Well, I don't feel like the kind of person who's looking to buy a child wants what I've got to offer. I don't think they're looking for a delicate artist. I think they want someone who can like pick onions and juggle cows around and stuff. Well, that's what you do on a farm, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, so it came down to this situation where there was a very real implied threat of like, this is what's going to happen. Like,
legal
we need to take
action.
all your details. You're going to come down now, and we need to prove. Like, we need to take
fingerprints.
we need to. Basically, like obviously not prison, but there was a serious like.
Not obviously,
ramification.
Isaac. This is the DLR we're on about.
I know, it's one of the more serious rails.
You can't just be hopping on and off like no one's business.
They don't call it the light rail for nothing. And but the alternative was, there was as you kind of come out of this double staircase that I've talked about, to the left is a tunnel that takes you like back towards the main body of the station, and just at the entrance were these 2 machines that were the ticket machines, and the DLR machines have a very odd. They look like vending machines designed by someone who'd only ever seen one through like a stained glass window. So they're these giant things that were just needlessly large for what is a screen, a coin slot, and a printer.
Yeah.
And they were all like in this speckled dark green, really futuristic, like looked like they were something from Her. And he pointed over there, he was like, we can try. And I mean, I don't believe you at the moment, but we're going to try and see like if this is a counterfeit. I think my angle had been that it was like probably a fake pound or something, and I'd kind of hoped in my naivety that I'd just be able to blag like, oh yeah, it's one of those fake pounds.
They're everywhere. Don't take it from me.
Don't check. And as I approached this machine, I locked eyes with it for the whole 20-foot walk, and I remember having a very distinct thought, which was just, come on. Like, now is your time to shine. Just not directed at anyone in
You
particular.
thought this so much that you managed to lock eyes with an eyeless machine.
Well, I think in many ways it became my accomplice.
Anthropomorphized
I think that what
accessory after the fact, you say.
Yeah, pretty much. And I approached, and this machine, to kind of add to its weird anachronistic futurism, where it's like half a machine from the past and half from the future.
Doffed its hat to the policeman.
Yeah. Hello, governor. Nice night. He was the policeman from Mary Poppins.
Not another rascal you got there.
No, but the way you interface with it, that made it sound like I was going to fuck it. But the way you control it was not. It was pre-touch screen.
Fucking
And it was just a
mind-blowing.
It was a big rotary, like just a big circle that you spin like an old rotary phone.
Right.
To kind of scroll through options. And it had a button in the middle. And I approached with my palm out as if to kind of meet it in the middle in this holy, ritualistic way. And I scrolled to my ticket, this giant officer flanking me, watching, disapproving. He was just waiting because he knew that I was lying. It was too obvious a lie.
Yeah.
I selected my single.
What, you think he might have encountered the fake pound ruse
I don't
before?
know. Some have called me a criminal innovator, but those people are all in prison now. So I don't know who to believe.
Those people taught you everything you knew.
I select my ticket. I give it the go down to the child one. I'm not going to here to fuck about. And press. And this pound coin in my probably trembling early teenage hand approaches, and I held it ever so slightly too long in the coin slot, just hoping that if I put it in slightly oddly, something would happen. And I dropped it. I kind of dropped it, but held it, and just like a gentle downward motion of my finger as it went to just give it a little spin.
Yeah.
Like for good
Because we all know
like when
that
you put a penny in those.
We all know that if you're at the vending machine and you're worried about, like, you've got a 10p back because it's not working.
Yeah.
That if you really shove it in, then it obviously works every time.
Exactly.
It makes
So that
it
was
not
my
fake. So
logic.
it's the
yeah.
opposite of that,
Yeah.
as gently as possible.
And what with it being a very large machine and the coin slot being maybe 2/3 off the ground, like near the top of this thing, it looks like, in my head, it looks like the big cupboard from Beauty and the Beast. It's just this sort of like giant opera singing machine. And I felt it just click away. And then it was like waiting for, that scene in any children's film where they cut one of the wires and they wait for, like, they hear all these, like, the mechanical whirrings to be like, will it explode? Or wait until you could hear it like kaplunking around all the different parts of the machine, like it was an internal factory where the borrowers processed money.
In my head, it's the at the beginning of the third Pirates of the Caribbean film, where they hang that little boy, and then it cuts to that silent shot of the coin spinning down and down and down towards your face.
That set up a much better film than it turned out to be, didn't it?
I stand by that third one. The second one's dross.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good.
But that opening scene is better than the rest of it, yeah.
Yes, much like that. The similar kind of tension, all eyes on this moment. And it clunks. It does a little, you can hear it like sliding around, and then silence. And I thought, oh, fuck. But on the counter, where it's like left to pay, hadn't changed. Another second passes, it hasn't changed. It's 5 seconds. And I hear this plonk, and it just drops out in the tray. And this man's demeanour changed like that. He was the most apologetic son of a bitch. He taught me something that I remember to this day, that pops into my head every so often, but only in the context of like vending machines or ticket machines usually. And he was like, yeah, what you got to do sometimes is you take it out, and he like rubbed
it
the
on the
side
metal.
of the pound on the machine. Yeah, and I'd never heard of that.
Did you
before.
not? Oh.
So this man, he became like a kind of
Teacher to
a
you.
father figure. Yeah. We've kept in touch.
Maybe he was the Christ that looked over you.
Oh no,
all
no,
along.
he wasn't.
No, wait,
I was clear that I was.
He was a horrid pig.
But just the momentum of that event. I don't remember even why I started talking about this, but
no, neither do I. But it's
if you're ever planning on, if you're ever planning, what I'm saying is, I guess the moral is that you just have to commit to these moments, and you know that someone out there, some force in the universe. I'm not saying it's me or God, whatever you want to call us, but something will come through for you in a big way.
See, I had the exact opposite experience in that I always always bought a ticket. A, because my dad was like, if you come home with a fine, I'll kill you.
That's a hell of a motivator.
A real way to kick a guy when he's been fined.
That'll do it.
But also because I knew that my luck was such that if I ever didn't buy a ticket, that would be the day. And for like all of my childhood, people would jump off at the stop just before Southend, Prittlewell, because there are no ticket machines and no barriers. Like no one even works there. It's barely a stop. It just it feels like the train just stops there out of ritual, like
out of respect for trains past.
Yeah, and so you can easily get off there and not pay. And I once was late to meet someone for a date. So I jumped on the train at Hockley without a ticket. We got to Prittlewell. I looked out the window. There were a dozen police.
Why do they come in such numbers?
And not just police, but like bouncers at the station. Like people, huge men in black, like Kevlar vests, standing at the base of the stairs out. And I was looking at it like, for fuck's sake, like what? I can't get off without a ticket here. It looks like they'll just take you away to the cells.
Be Guantanamo into the
you just never heard of again.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm gonna have to like stay on.
That's how they got Bin Laden.
I was like, I'm gonna have to stay on until Southend, but Southend's the end of the line, so there's only barriers to get through. There's no way. And I was like, I'm gonna have to try and blag it there. But lo and behold, when I got there were like 24 police and transport officers and whatnot waiting. And so obviously they were there attempting to catch people. So they weren't going to accept any sob story of, oh, well, I couldn't buy a ticket. Like that was the whole reason they were there.
That's the
bit that annoyed me, that I did have a go at one of them about, was that this was during the time when there were almost no trains running. And they were like, oh, we've had a lot of fare dodging at the moment. I was like, well, that's because you haven't had any fucking trains. Maybe that's why you haven't made any money, because you're not bothering to put any on, because the bloody bus drivers have got it all. But I did start this ruse, but the bloke that I was talking to was clearly just the most knowledgeable. Like, he had worked on this railway line since before trains were even thought of, since before Stevenson.
I've been working on the railroad as a joke.
He like snorted with laughter at Da Vinci's helicopter drawing because he'd seen it before. Like and I gave like the similar story. I was like, oh, I tried, but the office was shut at Hockley and the machine wasn't working. And he was like, right, so you were on this train, so that will have left Hockley at whatever time. So I suppose then anyone who's got a ticket from Hockley at that time, so we should be able to check. And he went through it, and I just went, mate, I just didn't buy a ticket. Just give me the fucking, how do I pay you? And he was like, and so I had to pay him on card, and my card wasn't working. He was like, oh.
Was this a fine or a ticket?
Yeah, fine.
How much is the fine?
20 quid.
Oh, that's not bad though.
It's 20 fucking quid I didn't need to be spending.
I'm not saying it's good, but the fines are like hundreds now.
What I'm saying is I had no such fucking angel looking over me as you. All my pound coins were, that's right, in this man's pocket.
Forever.
So what I'm saying to our listeners is, don't just persevere, buy a train ticket. Don't get caught out.
Get out. No, don't. That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's to transgress knowingly. That's one of my mottos. Like, you don't want to be one of these people who gets in trouble because you haven't thought about it and then doesn't have a response. You have to know what you're doing if you're going to break the rules. I think that's good advice. Do you?
Yeah, go for it.
Good. And I forgot as well in that moment, in that encounter, there was a bit where he was like, if we check the CCTV from Lewisham Station, are we going to see you buying a ticket? And I thought it was one of those, like, from the outside,
There's-
probably quite comedic perspectives of someone just clearly thinking for too long about their answer, being like, how likely is it that he's going to check the CCTV? And I mean, what kind of quality are they recording and like how long are they going to keep the recordings for? Could I block it
I'm
for
quite
like freedom of
sure maybe I
information?
could say I was behind
Yeah,
someone.
I could just be like, yeah, especially in those days. My school uniform was brown as well, so I could pretend to be like a bit of a tree. just
Yeah,
come to life.
definitely. 10 a penny in
and after
Lewisham
that-
Station.
Yeah, after about 15 minutes of silence. I'm going to go with no. No, I think I did say I was on the CCTV. And he just, that's the thing, isn't it? You have to commit in
Yeah,
these
you
moments.
can't say no
Can't
because then you are
half-ass it.
just guilty, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's all good. Anyway, we've got the flat.
Moving in tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh, that's true, yeah. Wow, that's weird. Good job I've packed.
I haven't
Nothing.
packed a single thing. I've got one enormous Walker's box upstairs to put stuff in. But here's the thing: is that it's like been collapsed, so I've got to put it back together and tape it up before I can put anything in it.
Why are you moving with a Walker's box?
Well, I've just
Is it
got a
that
load
practical?
of books which aren't
Oh,
practical
okay.
to carry up the stairs.
Have you heard of Get a Kindle? It's all the rage.
Well, that's no good for the books I've already got.
It is. You just sort of throw them at it, and they become
Oh, yeah.
one.
And then you buy a new Kindle.
Have I ever told you about the Kindle that I broke within 1 second of having it? I was so excited
No.
to have it, I just trod on it instantly. And then this is quite a similar
You thought it
situation.
was a plate at a Jewish
Yeah.
wedding or something.
It's the only thing I'm really careful with my belongings. I really hate, like, I get quite attached to inanimate objects, as we've discussed,
But
especially
not within
ones that
1
are-
second.
yeah, especially ones that are so like portals to something I really like doing anyway, like a Kindle. That's going to be amazing. And it arrived, and then I got distracted and just trod on it within seconds. So I got straight on the Amazon live chat, and I had a hell of a ruse. This ruse, not unlike the last one, based on flimsy premises and accepted only because of a kind of fluke of circumstance. That my ruse was basically that what was it? It was like there had been a lot of temperature fluctuation in the house that had caused the
about
screen to
you
become so
fucking
brittle.
Killed yourself. It caused the screen to become so brittle
It
in
just
one day.
spontaneously smashed. And I think I said
It was like
maybe
a
there was
rock
like,
in the middle of the Sahara.
But
the
what-
night came. It contracted so.
It's Sevenoaks for you. It's crazy. It's a wilderness out there. But I went with, I kind of sowed the seeds of lots of different approaches where it was like, yeah, I seem to remember seeing what could have been I thought it was just a hair, but perhaps it was a tiny fracture on the screen when I unboxed. And yes, I do remember the postman being awfully,
Clumsy.
yeah, exactly. Veritably
Stumbled his
lobbed
way
it
off
through
down the
window.
road.
Drunk. He's dropped beer bottles behind him, old postman Pat. I've had him fired. And I think I just said enough things that the guy was like, look, we'll just fucking send you a new one. But he'd said like, oh yeah,
Well-
the
well,
last person I'd
once-
spoken to had the same thing. So that's how
Well,
it came
once again, you've led quite nicely into one of the things I was about to talk about. One of the reasons I was keen to do the show tonight was because I needed something to lift the old mood.
Okay.
Because I'd just come off of the most painful conversation with Amazon.
Okay.
In that I am, look, I don't mean to brag, I'm an Amazon Prime
Oh,
member.
wow. Okay. That's
Got
quite
to have the
exclusive,
old
isn't
Amazon
it?
Prime. As in
Next day delivery.
open to everyone. Yeah. But
Prime Video.
I like the Amazon Prime. Yeah, I haven't used that yet. But
I like
I'm sure
the
I will at some
Amazon
point.
Prime. You sound like an old lady.
I am.
Thinks it's part of a forest.
But I just like knowing that when I order something, it'll be there. the
Yeah,
next
Amazon
day.
Prime's magical.
Um,
And especially because they snare you with that student offer where it's like, ooh, £10 for 30 years. And then, like, as soon as you're not a student, it's like, now it's 50. But once you've had a 1 day delivery, you're never going back. Get this, when we live in London, we can get the same
the
day
1 hour
delivery.
one. Oh my god.
Oh my God. Imagine if we could
Well,
afford
there
to.
we go.
There goes the rent for a
We'll
month.
only be able to buy like one ladybird with it.
We have to
because
buy
we-
things with which we escape the bailiffs. Just loads of Nerf guns will home alone the property to the
Do you
max.
sell sheets knotted together? Re-knotted.
Rapunzel style hair.
So I was ringing them because I bought my girlfriend a present, and it's now 4 days since I ordered it.
Yeah.
That's barbaric.
That's a lot of next days.
I'm not some absolute commoner.
No.
I am a Prime member. Have been for ever since I forgot that I signed up to the free trial.
I forgot to unsubscribe.
Yeah. And I looked, and I'm also subscribed to their service where if there's an issue, they'll send you a little text and be like, "Oh, it's sorry, it's not coming today. We're really sorry about that."
Okay.
I'd heard no such thing. I looked on the app, and it said, "Yep, delivering today by 9 p.m." This was at 9:10. But here was the interesting thing. When I clicked on it, it also said, delivering today by 9 p.m., not yet dispatched.
Oh, they're really rating their courier service.
It's going to be it's like a hell of a delivery from this point to get it here by 9.
To get
Certainly
10
if it
minutes
hasn't,
back in time.
to see especially if it hasn't been dispatched.
Yeah, it's impressive.
So I tried to get on like a live chat. No such thing. Wasn't available.
No.
Tried to send them an email. The app wouldn't let me do that either.
Good feature.
So I thought, right, only thing for it is to call them.
The old-fashioned voice speak.
So I called them and I explained the situation. And the woman I was speaking to was the absolute death of the spoken word. I've never met someone so incredibly ill-equipped to deal with conversation, particularly when their entire job is speaking to people on the phone.
It's a focal point.
I had to explain the situation 3 times, and it's really a very simple situation.
Yeah, I feel like you covered all the bases already with me.
And she was like, right, okay, sir, I will have a look into that. I will have a look into that for you.
Are you sure she was not a text-to-speech robot?
I'm only slightly sure.
Oh.
So she had a look and confirmed what I had already told her, which was that it hadn't been dispatched yet. In fact, it hadn't even reached what she called their fulfillment centre, which sounds very much like a cult.
It sounds like when you go to be euthanized.
Yeah. You've fulfilled your potential. See you later.
50 years and out, lads.
It's not getting any better. And so I was like, well, so it hasn't even reached you, let alone me. So how is it supposed to be here 20 minutes ago? And she was like,
Amazon slingshot.
let me look into that for you. I will have a look into that for you. I will go and can you hold the line? Like, yes. At which point she hung up on me.
That's great. That's such a good joke.
Then rang me back and introduced herself twice more.
Good.
And then asked if I can hold the line.
Mm-hmm.
To which I tentatively answered yes. Then
Did
she
you
put
make
me on,
sure she knew what it meant as well?
Yeah. Then she put me on hold for 12 minutes.
Good. What was the music
Here's the
like?
fun thing. Well, that's what we're coming on to. It's a little piano piece that lasts 53 seconds.
Not quite equipped to see you through the whole 12 minutes, keeping it fresh.
No. I got stuck in a weird Kafka-esque state where I was certain that every like time it looped round, I was just going back to the same point in time previously, rather than that the time was marching forward. Eventually, she came back on the line, and her answer was this: that she'd passed it on to the fulfillment centre, and they would email me within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
And that the book should be with me within 3 days. And I was like, but then that's a week for a book that I pay £50 a year for you to have to me 3 days ago already.
Yeah.
So I was looking for it 3 days previously, not 3 days ahead. And she said that for that they would, what she was going to do, she was going to extend my Amazon Prime by a month.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, that's like £6. It's not even that. It's like £4. I'd rather that I just have the book. Can you not just see where the book is rather than email someone to ask them where the book is and then get them to email me in 2 days' time telling me where the book is, only for the book to arrive another day after that? I won't be living here then. I'm literally moving home. I won't be here to get the book. What we're going to do for you, sir, what I've done, and I have done this, is that I've extended your Amazon Prime by a month. And I started to interrupt to say, yes, you told me this. I heard that. I don't care. I don't want it. What I want is the book that I ordered 4 days ago. But she just kept on. She wouldn't stop. And so your Amazon Prime, you now no longer have to renew your subscription until a month later, so you can check this. And I just waited until she finished, and then asked her if she had finished. There was no response, so I presumed so. At which point I told her that she was the most abhorrently useless customer service agent I'd ever had the misfortune to speak to. That she'd made my situation demonstrably worse than it was when I called. I'd been on hold for 10 minutes for her to haggle for the deal that I didn't want.
And you got hung up on.
Pardon? And I got hung up on. So I think she thought I was one of those speech robots, that she just had to keep saying it until I said okay.
It sounds like her approach was like a war of attrition, where she was just going to grind you down
she
with
won.
words.
She won because I didn't even accept the Amazon Prime extension. I was like, I don't want it. You've made me so angry that I don't want
you're never
it.
going to see it.
And so I hung up on her. And then
You should have said, can I put you on hold?
And then she had the balls to ring me back.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, and then introduced herself twice again. And I said, I know who you are. I hung up on you. I don't want to talk to you. And she went, oh, sir, I just thought, might you like a refund? I was like, fuck off. It's too late. I was like, it's too late. So, sir, I can do a refund. I was like, I don't want it. It's too late.
Oh, that's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I know, but I was so annoyed. I didn't want to engage with her because I had the feeling that if I said yes, I was going to have to speak to her for more than another 10 seconds. And I was so annoyed. I was like, you should have offered me that when you first came back off of hold for 10 minutes. Like, who were you possibly asking about that? And she was like, oh. And I was like, by the way, you're rubbish again. See you later.
May I just reiterate?
I just feel that I haven't quite got it across because you've decided to seek out another conversation with me. I don't know if you thought that I was just gonna suddenly forget all the rest of it.
I hope you get like just a normal phone number ringing you, and she's just like trying to arrange drinks.
I'm really sorry
signals.
that I just would you? I could. What I've done.
What we're going to do is I've booked a table.
I've booked a table. What I've done, sir. What I've done.
I'll be with you in 4 to 7 days.
So I'm now certain that this book is going to turn up as the wrong book and also in pieces.
Oh, yeah. Just torn into confetti.
Yeah.
I love talking to call centre people. I find it really relaxing.
I don't.
I think it's nice because I don't like being on hold for ages.
I don't mind some of them. I tell you who's preposterously good. Bet365.
Oh, really?
Their customer service is the best I've ever had. I rang up once because, like, with like all betting sites, the withdrawal of your money takes 9 years. Like, you don't see it until the next lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'd been waiting a particularly long time for this. And I rang up. I got through to someone within 1 second. And they went, yeah, I've put it through. It'll be with you.
Oh.
And then it was with me in the next second. And I was like, this is great.
A bit irksome, though, that there are systems in place that can be resolved so easily.
Oh, yeah. It made me angry at Bet365, but I was like, their customer service is great. Yeah. Whereas you see Amazon...
I bet there's like a school of...
Amazon seems to be the opposite. Like, the whole thing's set up to be as easy as possible for you and as helpful. But their customer service is therefore so bad. I reckon she's the one person who deals with all the complaints. That's all they get.
She was actually dealing with about 50 at once.
That's why I was on hold.
Says the middle of every sentence.
She was replacing your Kindle.
I haven't trodden on it again. I wouldn't ever dream of it. Look, you've got a list.
I have.
I've got some emails. We've also got a housing contract that's got some very questionable elements. Should we run through some of those quickly?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Well, I
Or we
mean,
could
I don't
do
need
that-
to find it.
We could do that when we're actually there, though. I thought that
Oh,
might
and then
be
we
fun.
could break each clause of
As
it
we-
live on air.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Great. Okay. That's always good, isn't it, to record evidence of
Exactly.
what
Yeah,
you're doing. Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. So we'll go through stuff like that.
but it
in
is
the next
very
episode.
odd. Like it's a
It's
weird
extremely
contract.
odd. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have then?
Well, I had a few stories.
Mm-hmm.
One that I've been meaning to tell you for ages, and it's been gnawing at me because I really wanted to tell it on the podcast, but then I keep forgetting. And then in between, especially now it's only once a week, I want to tell you, and then I haven't had a chance.
Oh, yeah.
So it's coming
weird
out now.
all this once a week, isn't it?
I know. We said we were talking yesterday, weren't we? That it feels like we're only doing it once a month now.
Yeah. It
I
really
don't think
feels
anyone
like a
listens
very long
anymore.
time.
But essentially, this was like a couple of months ago. I did a stand-up gig, and it went quite well. I was really happy with it, and I had some very nice feedback. Some of my nicest feedback, however, was from a what's a nice way of saying this? Lunatic,
Oh.
who was this absolute mental case who was just hanging around the like bar where this event was going on, and like during people's performances he assumed various positions, including standing in the open doorway clutching some shopping bags, to sitting at someone else's table, to perching on a stool. Like he was all over the gaff,
He was trying to be every kind of
every sort of patron.
yeah, like every character that could emerge in the bar setting, and could
He was
be
doing
mad.
he was just doing his own improv workshop.
Yeah, it sounds very nice.
But he came over and he was speaking to us at our table afterwards, and he was very nice, but totally insane. Like there was
What
no
were the clues? What was the brand of unhingedness?
the conversation jumped.
Yeah.
Like nothing, no topic was maintained for more than a couple of minutes, and he would thrust it to a new area with a strangely phrased interrogative. But also, he said some quite mad things.
Did you happen to poll him about his belief as to the shape of the Earth?
I didn't know.
But if you had,
Look,
what might you expect?
this man has never known anything flatter than this great Earth of ours.
Where does he land on Thoth?
Well,
He struggles to, because it won't keep still.
look, this is the sort of man he was. Okay. He asked us, well, first of all, he got an autograph from everyone who performed,
Okay.
but also from some of the audience. And
You sure he wasn't making you sign his like tenancy agreement?
my friend Amy was there, and after he got my signature,
Amy was on the show.
Amy, who was on the show,
Oh yeah.
and after I signed, she said that she was my manager, and he was like, "Can you sign?" She was like, "Yeah, sure. Here we go." Scribbled away, and then he was telling us about all the people he's got autographs from, and one of them,
What, that night?
no, no, just in
Her
his
over
little book.
there. Okay.
And one of them he claimed was Basil Brush.
Well, no. that I'm afraid is a puppet.
For those who don't know, Basil Brush is a puppet squirrel fox thing who
professorial figure.
was a comedy, a children's comedy icon in like the 70s and then maybe 80s.
Well, yeah, and he
but
came
then
back in
he
a big
came
way.
back to the old CBBC, and he really brought things alive again. I was quite a big fan. I liked the show when I was younger.
Yeah, I liked him well enough.
But this man, I'll tell you what, he was the biggest fan of Basil Brush. And he claimed to have his signature. And so I asked, "Oh, so you've met him then?" And he said, No, he met me.
Wow. What a great sense of status he has.
It's just, yeah,
That's admirable.
you know, you don't go to Basil Brush. Basil Brush comes
Basil
to
Brush
him.
comes to me.
my other favourite thing that he said, though, which I don't know if it was just his madness. I don't know if it was maybe an attempt at a joke, but it wasn't really in fitting with much else that he'd said that night. Or if maybe this was, when you're in new company and some people, therefore, are really desperate to save face. Like nothing can go wrong. Everything has to be right. And so they can't be caught out in either an untruth or getting something wrong. That's what it felt like. But it was one of the sadder attempts to save face that I'd seen.
What, from him?
Yeah, from him.
Okay.
Because the conversation sort of dropped a bit. Someone was looking at their phone. Someone was going to get some drinks. So he tried to kind of get everyone back on board.
The ball back up.
So where are you from?
Right.
And we said, from Essex. And he went, Essex, that's mainly woodland, isn't it?
Right.
We said, no, not really. Not very much at all. And he went, yeah, well, it was once.
Come on, mate. I meant prehistoric times. Get with the programme.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but so was a lot of places.
So was Rome.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it was woodland, so you can't say it's not.
Well,
I live in a very heavily urbanised area. Not very much woodland at all.
Strange angle.
And he maintained this angle for a bit. He claimed that other places weren't woodland, which I think in an attempt to make Essex seem more woodland.
Right, so he started bringing other places down.
Yeah.
So that it bolstered it by comparison.
He was like, well, not the desert. well, thanks.
Wow, not the ocean. Come on,
that wasn't the woodland. Come on, mate, not everywhere.
Silly.
And then he picked up his carrier bags and he tottered off into the night.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's autographs in tow. I assume he burnt ours after we dared to.
I wouldn't have thought so. I think you're just top of the list for identity fraud.
Oh, good.
He's got your book. He's got 80 copies of it and 3 extra months of Amazon Prime in your name. He is living his best life on your dollar.
He's moving to Colindale.
That's him.
You're going to be using his ensuite.
Joe. Can't wait. Hope he likes vegetarian food.
Oh, yeah.
Bless him. Well, that was lovely.
But more recently, I went out with Mark the other night.
Oh, yeah, friend and colleague.
Friend, colleague, future flatmate Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to go and see the new Armando Iannucci film, Death of Stalin.
Oh, yes.
And it was
good, I hear.
Absolutely incredible. Very, very good. Highly recommend it to all of you. And then we went out for some drinks afterwards. We were having a good old chat. Thoroughly missed the last train by about 2.5 hours, despite the pub being next door to the station.
1 hour.
So we were like, we'll go and get something to eat, and then we'll get a cab back.
Mm-hmm.
So we walked up the high street, and we bumped into a homeless guy. There are actually lots of homeless people in Southend at the moment. It's quite the tragedy. Especially given that I was sent...
What, in the sense that, is it like people come to Southend?
No.
Is it a good place to be, or is it because there's no money being invested in looking after people?
There's so little money in looking after the homeless in Essex as a whole, but certainly in Southend. And so it's like become a real like problem in the high street. For me, though, I feel the problem is that nothing's being done to help them. For the Southend Police, the problem is that, quote, the place looks untidy. They did
all those people littered everywhere.
I know. They did a really like it was almost felt like satire. They did this kind of boastful Facebook post with pictures of them moving homeless people on. And like talking about how they were like clearing up the streets. You're like,
oh dear.
Like
That's
Imagine blaming homelessness on the homeless. Like, it's just...
It's your fault, isn't it? You probably forgot where your house was, I bet. Just went out one day and that was it.
You probably just bet it on a horse, didn't you? Gave it away. Mr. Paddy Power's got it now. So we bought some of them like some food, and then we started talking to this one guy who refused to take any food, and he was really nice, and he was very talkative, and we sat down. We ended up talking to him for about 2 hours, I think. We just like sat in the high street having a chat with him. But what I enjoyed about this interaction mostly was twofold. The first was that it was the perfect mirror of spending slightly too much time with someone you just met at a party. Mm-hmm. And the second was something he did, which I'll get to. So, like, in terms of talking to someone like too much at a party, like, he came up and we saw him, and then we walked away and we were heading up towards our cab, and then he walked up the high street in the same direction, and we ended up bumping into him again, like going into a different room, and you see someone again, like, oh, hi, yeah, I met you earlier.
Yeah. Oh, you again?
Yeah. And so we started talking.
It's your like anchor.
Yeah. And then now he's like telling us a little bit more about himself, and he seems really nice, and you start thinking, oh, like, oh, this is a good guy. This, could be a friend. Mm. Then they say something that kind of jars with you a bit, but you think, you know what, it's early doors. We'll let him
That
off.
could just be his way.
Yeah.
You don't know what his way is yet.
I mean,
you don't know the cut of his jib.
In this guy's particular situation, what it was he admitted he'd been to prison for stabbing someone.
Yeah, it's just his way,
But as he put it, they did deserve it. So you can't say fairer than that.
They could have attacked him first.
Yeah, so it felt very much like a kind of justifiable situation, though we tactfully didn't find out too much, so we didn't have to discover that wasn't the case. Yes. You can always cling to this otherwise. Mm. But he seemed nice enough, and you know what? He'd served his time. That's what the system's there for.
That's what it's there for, yeah.
It wasn't like he was riding high ever since, so it felt, not my place to judge the guy.
Yes.
So then two things were going on. One, Mark had this bag of food that he so desperately wanted to eat, but clearly felt too bad eating it in front of a homeless man
like
who had none, like some sort of oligarch. Yeah. And so he was just like swinging it despondently, kind of every now and then looking at it,
eat the fumes.
knowing that his hot, spicy wings had been out in the cold for an hour and a half.
What's that? Frigid tendon wings?
And there's just also, like, we were both in a simultaneously similar position of kind of wanting to be respectful, but also wanting to get a cab home, but not wanting to say, we're going home now, to someone who can't say
we'll
the
be
same.
off to our house.
To someone who was telling us he had a 4-hour walk ahead of him just to sleep in his girlfriend's stables.
Oh, wow.
Because she was mad at him.
Is she a horse?
And no, thankfully. I mean, to be fair, he never confirmed that she wasn't, but the implication was that she wasn't. No, the implication was that she wasn't. So Mark and I were like, look, you won't take any food, but will you take some money to towards a cab? And he was like,
why? What was his reason in not taking food? He just didn't like chicken.
No, he was too proud. His case was that I'm not like your normal homeless person. I'm not like your normal homeless person. One of the ways it turned out that he wasn't like a normal homeless person was that he had a home.
That's quite a key distinction there.
But he A, had his keys stolen. B,
oh no,
his landlord was apparently a dick, and so he couldn't call him and say, I've lost the keys. And C, his home was in Basildon, and in his words, I don't want to live in Basildon. I don't know anyone there. Plus, I don't have my keys.
Not like the street.
No, well, it's sad that like his living situation is that bad that he would literally rather be on the street. I mean, also couldn't get in, but there are intermediary steps.
Well, you'd think, but who's to say?
Well, yeah, no. What I mean is normally, like for him, there clearly weren't. You don't choose stables over.
Not many people do.
No. So we were like, no,
Jesus did.
So will you take a bit of money towards a cab then to go? And he was like, yeah, okay, yeah, thank you. He was like, it's so far away. He went, so I can't take money for all of it, but like anything you can do will help. So we went over to the cash machine. We got some money out to give him, and so we both gave him a bit of money, and he took it and he went, oh, I can't take this. It's too much. And we're like, no, go on, take it. It's fine. He went, no, I can't. And he went, tell you what. He went, let me buy you a beer.
Wow.
And we went, what? And he went, yep, come on. And like walked us down the road and then took us into a shop and was like, so, what do you want?
You got the run of the town, boys.
We were like, picked something up each and then paid for it with our money.
That's great.
It was
like the guy in Annie.
Yeah.
What's his name? Daddy Warbucks or whatever it is. It's the choice is yours, kid. Take what you like.
It was like simultaneously just funny to be offered something with money you'd literally handed over a second ago.
I like that.
But also, it was just, it was so sweet.
But
like,
it makes a kind of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. But it was
There's
like
a rationale.
I don't know any non-homeless person to whom I could lend money and they'd then use it to buy me something.
Yeah,
like it's just they're just so.
It must just so fundamentally alter your idea of what money is.
Well, and also I think that because it just is so they're so fundamentally not used to anyone giving a fuck that when they do, you probably feel like you don't deserve it or like you haven't.
Or it's like you just don't understand how to process it. Like, well, what am I missing? What's the catch?
Yeah. So then we went back to the cab rank with him and we were like waiting around and we said that we'd wait around till he got in one because otherwise like cab drivers are mostly bastards, so they like may well turn him away. So like we'll wait around till you get one. So he like convinced this.
No offense to any cab drivers listening.
No, unless you are one of these.
Unless you are a bastard. Anyway.
In which case,
incidentally.
How about you stop listening and carry the homeless about?
Yeah.
So we were standing around and he like haggled with this cab driver to get to where he was going for whatever he had left. And he was like, all right, I'll just finish my beer out here with these lads. So we were like, oh, okay, cool. And then we were standing around having a drink. And then like things had very much reached their apex at this point. Like I think we could tell that the relationship wasn't going to get any stronger.
It was like the peak and then the parting of the ways.
Yeah. Well, except there was no parting. So we were just on a steady plateau that was only looking one way, which was slightly down. Okay. So we were standing around and we were having a chat and he went, so what did you see at the cinema? I went, we went to see and before we could answer, he went, was it that Geostorm?
What?
Geostorm. Have you not seen the trailers for it?
No, what the hell is that?
It's like a Gerard Butler film that's coming out. It's one of these big action set pieces.
Sounds like a type of Connect.
Day After Tomorrow-esque. It's about how like there's a space station that controls the weather, but then it starts giving like natural disasters everywhere instead.
Like a bad player of one of those games where you're like in charge of a town.
The Sims, yeah.
Yeah. No, The Sims is people. There's one that's like Sim City, that's the one.
And we were like, no, not Geostorm. And then again, before we could say what we had been to see, he went, there's a lot of truth in that film. And we were like, no, Tom, no, like don't. Like both just thinking, like we looked at each other and we're like, oh no. There's only one way this conversation goes from here. He was like, yeah, a lot of truth in that film. And then he said the sentence that I was so praying that he wouldn't, which was, You know, you know when planes fly overhead and they leave those clouds behind.
No.
And we both kind of looked at each other like, "Oh no!"
What is
And
it?
then
Are you saying they're water vapour?
They're called chemtrails. He said.
Chemtrails.
What it is, it's they're full of iron, and
yeah.
which obviously when
Famously
affects the
fluffy.
blood and the heart, it's all about population control.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
not
yeah,
on.
there's a lot of truth in that film. And he went, do you know about chemtrails? And there's no diplomatic way, and there's no way to respond to that which is both diplomatic and maintains my principles. You can't say, yes, I've heard of them, but it's nonsense. But also, I don't
Yes,
want
but
to be
is not
like,
really an option.
no, I haven't. No, go on, because
No,
I didn't want
tell
him to
me more
say
for 1
another
hour.
word about chemtrails. I was really happy with where we were.
You should have just been like, my mother died to chemtrails. Can we not? The wounds are still healing.
She was skydiving and just flew straight through the middle of one and choked
She
to death
just
on a big
turned
lump
into-
of iron.
It's like flying through the asteroid belt, Tom. It can't be done.
Star Wars lied to you, Tom. It lied to you. Geostorm didn't, but Star Wars did. And then there was an unfortunate
So
situation.
hang on, had he seen Geostorm then?
No,
Or
I
had he
think
just,
he'd seen the
he
trailer
just got the
somehow.
sense that there was a lot of truth in it.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And there was another unfortunate situation in that a guy came out of nowhere and got in the cab that he'd sort of semi-reserved for it. And I was like, oh, that's a dick move. And then Tom started kind of like being like, I had that cab, I was just getting in. And the bloke was having like none of it. And then this bloke was a total cunt. Like he wound down the window and was yelling out, well, what do you want? Would you want a pound or something? Toss you a pound.
Wow.
But then, and this is where like my own slightly shameful like pride set in. He was like, you lot fucking disgust me. And I really had to like reserve the urge to go, I'm sorry, I'm not homeless.
Look, I've just signed a
Excuse
tenancy
me.
agreement.
I might have a scruffy beard and a leather jacket. I may be stood in the street drinking Stella at 2 a.m.
Yes,
but
I may not have showered today,
This
but
guy may be homeless. I tell you what, I very much.
That's
I
such
tell you
an
what, I've
always
got
sunny
two
situation.
I know, and he kept shouting at us, and Mark and I were kind of looking at each other and just like, no, you know what? We stand in solidarity with Tom. Like,
Yeah, I think
for now
so.
we are
I think
homeless.
change your horse to the right man.
Is that a joke about sleeping in stables? If so, it's
No,
very
it was just an
insensitive.
expression I couldn't quite remember.
I was
What is
listening to one of our old episodes the other day, a shameless narcissist that I am, and there's a bit in that where you use the phrase "let's stop fucking about the drain hole,"
I remember that.
and then are instantly so appalled by your own self.
No, even now, every day I wake up, I have to do 8 Hail Marys just so I can carry on with my life. I think if I were to be in that pound coin situation again, my saying "fucking around the drain hole"
Yeah.
would preclude any divine intervention.
That's it. No, you're fucked now. You're on your own.
Oh dear.
So we eventually Tom did get in a cab
Good.
and so did we, and we went home and we were watching some BoJack, and it was only then that Mark realised that it was his birthday.
Mark's birthday.
Yeah. Mark,
Not BoJack's
No,
birthday.
Mark realised that it was his own birthday.
Right.
And then we both realised that, therefore, technically, Tom had bought him more of a birthday present than I had.
Wow.
By getting him his little
I mean,
bear.
in a roundabout way, he'd bought his own birthday
He bought
present.
himself a birthday present.
And that's the saddest thing of all.
I'd given him my number, Tom. Or I'd sent him a text.
Right.
He'd given me his number, and I'd sent him a text, and he was
Okay.
like, "I'll let you know if I'm okay." And I was like, "Yeah, good. Let me know." And let me know.
Interesting
Anything
move.
to do. So I gave him the number anyway. The next day, I got a text
dick
back
pic.
from that number. Not quite. No, I got a text back from that number saying, "Who is this?" because I realised that I'd never given him my name,
Uh-huh.
and I just said, "Hope you get home." And then I forgot to answer because he said,
Hope you get home is a dreadful thing to text to a homeless man from an anonymous number. Hope you get home.
It was only later when I was back that I realised by home I
That's
meant
very upsetting.
ex-girlfriend's staples.
Oh dear.
But I forgot to. I forgot to A, have any decency. B, I forgot to respond because I was asleep when he sent it. The next day, I got a message, like an iMessage, from an account that is, well, it's an email address.
Yeah.
And obviously I won't read the whole of it, but it does start with Mr. Dank 2018.
Okay. Right.
And I felt like a bit of a bad person because I thought,
Did you just block?
no. How dare you?
Well,
I'll tell you what happened, but I felt bad because I thought, as a homeless person, dank doesn't necessarily mean the same thing.
I suppose not. No.
But I did respond to him then, and I was talking to him today. Things did not go well going back to the stables.
Oh no.
And he still doesn't have his keys.
Right.
But I was
Now, do we think that the keys are a kind of Moby Dick, white whale situation?
they could be, but I have a proclivity to believe him. I mean, the
Okay.
situation does seem unfortunate enough that, like, I think he probably does have a place because he has a kid as well. And so I'm thinking that he does have a place, but apparently his landlord's very dodgy anyway. But I was dropping my
sounds
family in Southend, so I was like, "Is there anything I can do?" So I went and met up with him again and said, "Hey," and I gave him some money for some food, and he's got a place to stay for the next week.
Oh, that's
So that's good. So he's he's all set for a while as Mr. Dank 2018.
Oh.
But yeah, he was a nice man.
So what's the moral?
The moral is, and we've said it before on this show, the moral is don't be a cunt to the homeless.
Yeah, because if there's a class of people that needs your country directed at them, it's just not the homeless, is it?
They are last on that list.
Yeah, they're really very, very far down. Just a bit of
And if
compassion.
if the police and the council and all the various authorities that should be doing the most to help them are in fact doing the most to clear them away like litter rather than, let's not forget, human beings.
Oh,
That's the
are
one.
they-
They're living people.
Ah, yes, okay.
That's the one.
Right, no, that's true, actually.
Worth, let me just think. That's right. Just as much as anyone who does have a home. And in many instances, a whole lot more.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You're saying that if you don't have money, more money doesn't mean you're a better person. What?
No, I suppose I never thought of it in that particular sense, but now that you say that, it does seem to expose the farce of capitalism quite
hypocrisy.
succinctly. Goodness. Anyway, I will be
moving on.
sharing from the TAS account a very good tweet thread that I shared myself the other day about giving money directly and unconditionally to the homeless. Don't be believing in any of these scaremongering campaigns like, "Oh, you're doing more harm."
They spend it all on drugs.
Well, guess
That's
what? If
fucking
anyone
worst
deserves drugs, it's the homeless. So how about you go fuck yourself? It's also the biggest scaremongering lie ever.
Yeah, it's dreadful. It's so transparently dreadful as well because no one has any follow through to the whole "it does more harm than good" argument, and it's roundly refuted by every major charity.
Single study.
And look, it's not like us, but why not consider, as it comes up to the colder months of the year, lots of charities, especially in like smaller areas or in your like local council area, there'll be lots of charities. Often they're kind of church affiliated, but try and look past that if you can.
Yep.
We'll be doing a thing where, because I don't know if it depends on where you live, but certainly here in Canterbury, the legislation about when they have to provide home for people based on temperature is like the most just starkly preposterous document. It's like, once your blood has literally turned to icicles,
I
and your
suppose
heart
we
has
can
stopped
give you
with the
3
power
or
of snow.
4 walls.
Yeah, it says like, well, we can consider like you can join the queue to see if you get 1 of 1 spots in our -3 places.
And
But loads of places will be doing like housing things, and you can go and volunteer to do like a night shift and stuff.
yeah, I think that we're definitely. Well, I certainly am going to try and do some of that over Christmas.
Yeah,
so I think
I'm
we
sure there'll
definitely
be
should.
something in for us to do.
And as well, I think one of the things that most people don't realise is that if you're one of the reprehensible pricks who says, well, why don't they just go to a homeless shelter? You might be interested to know that most of them, here's the thing, charge money for you to stay.
You know all that money that you make being homeless?
Well,
no.
you can spend it a bit like rent on a home. Yeah. Oh,
it's almost like the whole system's just set up to kind of forget about people who fall through the cracks.
Yeah, and perhaps widen those cracks just a little.
I think that's a nice thematic symmetry that we've kind of accidentally stumbled upon, is that the episode where we're talking about the fact that we're moving into a house, we're also considering the flip side of that, homelessness. We've committed publicly,
not in a mocking
kind of laughing
sense.
way, in a very considerate, compassionate
Moving
way.
into a home has really made me think about those who aren't.
How shit it would be. No, look, we care a lot about that, and I think it's something that it's really easy, because a lot of charity is quite abstract, isn't it? And you can understand why programs like Children in Need spend so much of their budget on making these incredibly compelling films that humanise stories of countries that you just read about and hear about in Rudyard Kipling's racist rants about colonialism that have made it into print.
Most people have only heard on their vinyl copy of Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood.
Yeah, exactly. And so with the old homelessness issue, it's so it kind of breaks down so quickly into, oh yeah, no, that's just a person, isn't it? And I think we could all afford, over the old festive season where we're probably spending money on things we don't need, to, you know, give of your time, if not of your cash. Yeah. If, like us, you don't have very much to give.
At the very least, like, I think that the point to leave this particular topic on is that at the very least, even if you have nothing to give, even if you cannot even give your time, please at least look these people in the eye if you have to speak.
It's
to
like
them.
the carol, isn't it? What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I can't remember that bit, but the last bit is he just gives his heart, doesn't he? That's the bleak midwinter for you. Yeah. Great chat, great moral.
I thought I'd squeeze in a slightly more of a segue, a slightly jollier few anecdotes. They're very quick fire. And one of them is going to remind you, because it's actually your story. But
story theft.
I've been reminded of it, so it's coming in a quick fire. I was dropping, as I mentioned, my family in Southend for a concert, and a very good friend of the family's up as well. Mm-hmm. And he is a chef, and he was saying the other day that he was working, because he's doing kind of a bit of agency work and a bit kind of like freelance chefing, essentially.
Cheffery.
Chefing is what I'm going with.
We're going to call it.
Chefification.
That's the one.
And he was asked to work at a place the other week where they did an all-day breakfast that ended at 11:30.
Doesn't mean anything.
Which reminded my parents, even more amusingly, of a place they went to in Lee, where they went in and they tried to order off the breakfast menu, and they said, I'm afraid it's that menu's pretty much ended, because that finishes at 11:30, and it's 28 past now, so you can't really order off that one. And they went, oh, okay, well, we'll just take something off the lunch menu. And they went, that doesn't start till 11:45.
They'd arrived in the
They literally
17-minute twilight zone.
That's literally, I said the twilight zone as well.
The hinterland between breakfast and lunch, where no food can dwell.
Walk into a restaurant, you reach for a menu that isn't there.
You unlock this lunch.
To order food, no man would cook you in this hour.
That's so lovely. I'm sure that whoever came up with that just did it to fuck with a very, very small percentage of their
who just
customers.
walked in that 15 minutes.
That's such a shame.
But all of this is to remind me. Can you think of what it's reminded me of?
No.
Can you not?
I
Well,
can't remember any things that happened.
I'm going to relate the story then. It's about exam season.
Okay.
And Isaac, dear, had an exam. He did a subject.
Still don't remember what this
did a
is.
subject that involved an exam, and all the exams, or most of the exams at York, take place in the one building in Central Hall, and of course they just have the same invigilators throughout the entire day, who read the same script of instructions for every single exam, and clearly don't modify them for whatever they have. Do you know what this is yet?
Yes.
Okay, and. So Isaac went in for an exam towards the end of the day, little philosophy exam, little bit of
I'd had a few that day as well.
little bit of thinking before you absconded to V-Bar.
Yeah.
And the man at the front read out the instructions in the dreary monotone that befits and befalls all people who are employed to invigilate examinations.
And who've read that script a million times.
And he came to the end of it, and the final sentences were, "If you need to use the toilet, then please raise your hand and we will come to attend to you as soon as we can. You may not leave the examination hall in the first 45 minutes of the exam or the last 15. You have 1 hour. You may begin."
It took me 5 minutes of just pondering. Is this the first question?
I'd have left. That would have been it. I would not be doing the exam. I would assume that I was being trolled by the entire
The exam was
university.
about logic as well, as I recall. It was the logic where it is kind of questions that fall into that kind of vague area of like looking at premises and seeing if they make sense. So it was such a great setup to be given this impossible toilet break that no one could take.
It's so beautiful. It's a little catch-22. I was going to make a very crude pun there, and I didn't. So we can all
you've got to tell us what it would
No,
be now.
I simply won't.
Do you not?
No.
Okay, well, you tell us on the bonus episode.
Okay, will do.
That'll be all the bonus episode is. Shame.city/mail. Get on that hype. It's going to be coming out before the end of the month, isn't it? Maybe.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Which month? Not October, surely.
No one knows.
We don't have internet until the 1st of November.
No, we're going to find a way, though. Audio will find a way. Look, shame mail. It's everyone's favourite segment.
We love it.
I get a barrage of compliments for shame mail just on a yearly basis. It really is overwhelming.
That's very interesting, given that A, I don't receive any, and B, we're only 6 months
people
in.
know who to direct it to. They know who the brains of the operation are. We've had a message from Toby King. It's titled On Housing. Hello, gents, he says, as you know, I've been on my own accommodation hunting adventure, which in my head has Toby in a kind of khaki shorts outfit,
definitely.
chasing houses around the Serengeti with a big spear.
It's essentially Jumanji.
Yes. I love that. They're remaking that, aren't they?
Let's not talk about it.
No, but it might be good because it's got, I think, The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock's in it, but
who knows?
come on.
He plays the board game. Oh no, it's a video game now.
He plays the dice.
Yeah, it's quite special. Yesterday, says Toby, we were shown a property in Clapham, which is in London, guys. While the house was generally acceptable, the bathroom was coated with a thick layer of black, possibly sentient mould. Really, it was a pile of mould with a bathroom attached.
What I'm going to say is that any mould that you feel the need to describe as possibly sentient is bad enough to be sentient anyway. Like it
makes it sound like the Hypnotoad kind of mould, like it's tricked you into underestimating
like if it's that bad, it may as well be sentient. Like the sentience is not what's troubling, it's the level of mould, isn't it? Yeah.
The estate agent, he continues, had the gall to look at it, turn to me, and say to my face, "The bathroom has a rustic charm. Should all estate agents be hanged?"
The answer is, apart from Adrienne and her wet
She's
eyes.
very nice.
Yes.
I guess, yes, I'm not predisposed to like estate
I mean, we did
agents.
talk a bit about all of these kind of stock phrases that get employed regardless of which particular home they're being attached to.
Yeah.
You know, within walking distance is like, well, I mean, people walk across countries, so that's not a phrase that means very much. Everywhere's walking distance if you're trying hard enough.
Tom walked to the stables.
Yeah, bless him.
You go anyway. What else have they got? Proud to present. We talked.
Proud
about
to present
bullshit.
is bullshit.
Generously sized.
Generously sized is
Like,
nonsense.
maybe if your parents fed you 1p at dinner.
Partially furnished always means,
That means
one table,
You've got
no
one
chairs.
Lego block. You've got the legs of a table. Make of it what you will. But I guess I feel like why I don't like estate agents is I just don't really understand that their job needs to exist. Because if
they capitalised.
it's not like anyone's not trying to find a place to
No,
live.
they capitalised very strongly as being a middleman where none was needed.
Yeah. I feel like that's on the way out.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, it's already happened to travel agents, so they're surely next.
Like open rent and stuff, you just go straight to the landlord.
Yeah, done.
Could be the future. We've had another email as well. It's from, do you have it up or shall I read?
Do you want to read it?
Sure. It's from listener and friend and pal, Emily. Mug sender extraordinaire. Subject, a long while. Dear Isaac and Declan, hello, my podcast angels. This is how I now think of you, fondly and angelic, before Isaac eventually says a horrible word or phrase, disgusts us all, and I land back on Earth and realise I had been a fool. A fool! That was all caps, that last bit. That was just my delivery.
Do you
there.
act?
I do, actually, yeah.
Do you do any?
It's,
Do you do any voiceover, oh dick?
Oh, yes, I did that. And it went interestingly. They gave me some odd feedback, which was that they wanted
Didn't
it
sound
slower.
cockish enough.
I will, once it's been approved and stuff, I'll definitely chuck it in an episode because I sound like a total idiot for the whole thing. Sounds like an absolute embarrassment. Let's see. Emily continues, I hope you know I'm always silently listening and supporting like an old creeper. I also hope you both enjoy your merchandise. I'm particularly pleased with the very word art-esque word of mouth is best of mouth mugs, as are we. I hope they provide endless joy and delicious beverages and that Isaac does not choke while using it. Thank you. I hope that as well. Why are you so scared of such strange things? Are you not perpetually terrified of the failure of your own epiglottis? Awful. I suppose in some ways I am, and it's a constant battle to keep that instinct at bay.
Just think that even living with that fear, he manages to pull himself together once a week and do this podcast.
That's why, isn't it? If people knew everyone else's battles, then I think we'd all have a lot more respect for each other, you know? I very much enjoyed the 11 plus content, and I'm also glad neither of you got murdered by Joe Angela. I would have also bailed fucking ASAP when the John Coffey character took my means of leaving his weird-ass dark home where he does his murders. Something that you may enjoy. One of my tasks at my job doing techish things for a bank in London is to update the profanity filter on the system, and I knew I would enjoy it from this sentence alone. This means I have to put in all the swear words we want to ban. The pre-existing English list is a source of much amusement. Whoever uploaded it included words such as poontang and yeasty. Dreadful. My job has been to ask various colleagues in our global markets to provide a similar list in their native language, and we have had responses in Cantonese, Mandarin, Hindi, Bengali, etc. The best part of this is taking the swear words in Chinese characters and putting it back into Google Translate for the English equivalent of these Chinese insults. The top ones so far have been, quote, top you a lung. What does that mean? It sounds like something a Cockney man would shout at you in, like, Victorian England. Oh, top you a lung, Oliver. Ugly dove. Mud horse. Quite
I'm
offensive.
going to call everyone a
You
mud
fucking
horse.
mud horse.
Fucking
And
mud horse,
Go
Detlef.
to your grandmother. Detlev, yeah, we need to bring Detlev back. Can you, Emily, please put Detlev into this filter?
Oh my god! Imagine if someone complains because they're called Detlef, and their name gets filtered out.
That would be amazing. If we could try starting, I want this to be an experiment that we all do together. Just every so often. I'm not saying do it often. I'm not saying force it. It's not like Mean Girls where she keeps trying to make fetch a thing. I just want to see if between our...
I reckon we can get Detlef going.
Yeah,
can
I
get
think
it
if every month, every 2 months, where you would have said idiot or horrible bastard or ugly dove or mud horse, you just go, oh, it's just such a fucking Detlev, and then just leave it. Like, don't explain it. Don't kind of tell anyone what it's about. I just want to see if we can sow that seed. My top 2, she says, are gibbon cat.
It's great because it's
hybrid animal.
It's just 2 animals. Just like, why is that particularly insulting?
They're less than the sum of their parts. And this one's great. Green tea bitch. That sounds like something you'd call, I don't know, like a white girl who is really into like fetishizing bubble tea.
Yeah.
And who walked around with
she's
like
a
anime
fucking
outfits and stuff.
Green tea bitch,
Green
isn't
tea
she?
bitch. Hope you're well as always. Much love to you both. I look forward to the time in the future we're in the same place and I can buy you, she commits to publicly, a well-deserved pint. Bring your mugs, of course.
Perfect.
Thank you, Emily. And thank you both for the emails. How can people say I was sitting there pregnant with verse, with prose, with text, with thoughts that I needed to be disseminated on this podcast, like so much grass seed over the cliff of knowledge that we stand atop and spout this? How would I send my thoughts across?
Well, Isaac, I suppose there would be a whole myriad of ways for you to do that. Maybe you're the sort of person, I don't like them personally, but I mean, they exist, who likes to communicate predominantly by email.
Oh, yeah, I love them.
Maybe you could email us, and we have an email address, tas@shame.city.
Now, when I'm writing TAS, is that what? T-A-S-S?
That's TAS.
Oh,
Just the
one
TAS, because it stands for, if you remember, that's a shame.
Oh, okay.
Did you see, by the way, I sent you for one of these bullshit freelance jobs that I've started doing, I was having to transcribe a PDF catalogue into an Excel spreadsheet. And,
fun and well paid.
don't you know it, baby?
Double joke.
And I sent you one because it was like a heat warming pod. It was called, was one of the items in this. And I just had a flashback to when we were trying to figure out what our Twitter handle would be.
Yeah,
and the first option was "That's a shame pod," which was roundly dismissed.
Can you imagine how far we would have come if we'd chosen that? We would have no listeners.
We'd
be in prison.
We'd never have met Mark Stratfall. We'd never have met Kevin.
Paul. It sounds like we're naming disciples. We've all got very biblical names.
The next was audience. Matthew, so...
Oh, yeah. Wow, okay.
Goodness.
But yeah, tas@shame.city, that's a great way to do it. Other than that, go on shame.city.
Just teased, didn't I, the Twitter. We got a Twitter. We did
Wait
Twitter.
with the Twitter. Wait.
Why?
Hold your horses.
Why?
There's a contact form on shame.city.
How about you
know?
fuck off with your contact form? Why
It's
does that
a
necessarily
lovely
have to
way
come
to send stuff.
Why does it have to come before the Twitter?
Because it's part of the email segment.
No, it's not. How
Carry
about
on.
you get out? Look,
Get a life, okay? Tell us about Twitter.
For anyone who's got a social media, if you do a social meds,
Every so often.
if you're down with
When
the
the
kids,
mood strikes.
if you fancy sending out a Twitter, did you see that somebody the other day used twote as the past tense of tweet?
Horrible.
Imagine doing that.
Murder, she twote.
Even younger Sheldon. So you can get in touch with us on Twitter. You can get in touch with the show. We've actually started tweeting a lot more from the account,
Yeah, a little
haven't we?
bit, because I keep seeing really odd things at the moment.
You keep sending them to me afterwards, but zoomed in.
Yeah. So you just get the face of the odd thing.
If you think it's odd seeing it normal size, imagine
it full screen on the eyes. You can really get a sense of its attack.
You can reach us at That's a Shame Cast.
Yeah, and look, guys, we're hovering around 1,100 followers, which I think is a very decent amount. But what I don't like to see is that once it's gone over, every few days it dips back under. So that needs to stop. If you or someone you know has been following and unfollowing, maybe as a gentle jape, some kind of joke, then although, we're as much...
Maybe you fancy us, you're trying to coyly get our attention. It isn't working.
Slide into the DMs or just back out, because we may come across as like fun-loving, but when it comes to Twitter followers, it's serious business.
It's militant.
Yeah.
That's the same personally as well. And of course, you can find us individually on Twitter. You can find Isaac at IsaacBD. You can find myself at Cynical Declan. Now,
Yeah.
I've got a final little tease after you plug reviews.
Well, I was quickly before that just going to plug that if you head over to @IsaacBD now, I really need people to jump on board. Elmo from Sesame Street's put out a big
you need
poll
to say that he should dress as a ghost.
No, just don't be swayed, because the essence of democracy is that you express whatever is in your heart. And the heart, as they say, is the avocado of the soul. So have a look. Elmo's put up 4 options for what he should dress up as for Halloween, and just vote with
We
your
all know
heart.
really there's only the one. And it's ghost.
But look, shame.city/review. If you're on iOS, that'll take you right over to the iTunes page, quick as you like, where you'll be able to drop a lovely 5-star glowing review. We do read them out on the show, and do here doesn't imply regularity so much as, I suppose, a trajectory towards a reality where we will read them out. There will come a day when I am here reading them out.
Yeah, principle, I think, is
Yeah.
what we're going for.
It's not the continuous tense.
You
It's,
don't
it's
always
there.
stick to it, but it is there.
We're heading
If you're ever
towards it.
asked about it. That's
And I
what it
mean,
is.
yeah, it helps us somehow on iTunes, but also it helps us because we just like to know, like, feedback, really.
And we like to hear from you.
Yeah, it's really very lovely. You have a tease.
I have a tease. I think it's time for a tease. Mm. We're coming up to the big episode 50, aren't we?
So I hear.
Now, as we said earlier, big is a relative term.
Yep.
One of those terms that's very internet installation dependent. But with that kind of thing, with that as a given, like if we assume internet connection given,
Yeah,
we assume
we'll find a way.
then after episode 50, in fact, from episode 50 onwards, we're going to have another plug, aren't we?
Are we?
We're going to have another plug.
Another plug?
Another plug.
Is it because, has there been a demand for people are like, less of the content, more of the plugs? That's what people are saying.
No.
Oh.
Actually, they haven't been demanding more of very much from us. Most of
Oh.
them.
They
But
want less
what we think,
of the whole thing.
No, they haven't said they want less. They just haven't said they want more. But I think
Hang on. Some people did say they wanted
some
more.
people did, and we we're catering solely to those two. So the rest of you get on board.
Mum, if you're listening.
I think
don't think
that
she
it's
is.
no, I think that really it's that, you know, we've given so much already that people are embarrassed to ask for more, even though they want it.
You know, yeah.
And so what we have done out of the goodness of our hearts, we're doing more, aren't we?
We are
Well,
doing
not
more
doing,
because,
not in the present tense, but as in,
again, it's that, like, there is the potential for doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to be doing.
More
We could be going to be doing. Sort of future
I mean, I think we
conditional.
will.
I think so, yeah. But what is for certain is that we will have another plug for each show.
Something to dwell on there.
What could it be?
Are we leaving it that vague?
That's right, guys. We're starting a Tumblr.
Guys, Bebo's back.
If you
The face of Bebo.
welcome
That's a shame.
to the That's a Shame Habbo Hotel. Get on board or fuck off.
It's gonna be big.
I think that's
Okay,
where we
yeah.
can leave it. We've still got episode 49. We can do a bit more
Okay, we're
teasing
gonna just
there.
ramp up to that plug.
Yeah, I think that episode 49's
Let it be
tease
said.
should really very much just be telling everyone.
Yes. Maybe I'll do a Fleb-esque puzzle hunt puzzle
Ooh, nice.
for people to decipher.
Yeah, we could do that.
But yeah, because like we've said, from like our perspective, it does feel like a lot less than once a week at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's something about doing more content that kind of energizes the content that we do. It gives it, I don't know, I felt like it's been a bit of a bad test because we've been really busy with moving and stuff. But it's felt like what we thought would happen would be that more content kind of crystallized for the once a week.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to be in the mindset to pursue content for things to happen that generate it. So who knows? Basically, the long and short of it is that we're looking at ways to do more stuff, more of this and more of related things, and that will be with you for episode 50. All optional, in a sense. No, optional is the watchword. But look, all that is left to say is, as Emily put it so resolutely upon a mug, and as one of us, I can't remember which probably the more Jesus, like, spouted one day, as if from on high, word of mouth, it is the best of mouth. Tell a friend about the show. Tell a friend about homeless people. Just remind them they exist and that they are people. Both of those. Don't go picking one as more worthy than the other, because we don't want you to have to make that kind of moral decision. I've got a philosophy degree and I don't think I'm qualified to even begin to wade into that quagmire. So leave that to Hume or someone. But
in the meantime,
this has been episode 48. I've been Isaac. You've been.
I've been Declan.
And the next time we record, we'll be living in a new place, a new start, a new home. We'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Come to you.